We're going to start streaming. And let the charge. We are going to be there. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Hey, everybody. Yes, we are here. We are live on about 15 systems all over the place. And I'm just waiting to see if I can find some people who come on board on the different platforms. So, hey, guys, good to see you. Good to see you. If you see me looking around a bit, it's because I'm trying to find all these different people. Okay. Right. And I can see the chat and I can see everything. So we are good. We are very, very good. Okay. I am going to be talking today. This channel, whoops. So you have to excuse me moving around a bit, but this channel is about startups, and it's startups of any kind, whether you're a biotech or you're a fintech or you're a green tech or whatever. I'm here to try and answer questions. So I've been around for a very, very long time in this industry. Oh, something's popped up. Okay, right. So there's I've been around for a long time. I am basically a startup expert. I've raised just over 1.5 billion so far in startup money. And I've done that from VCs, family offices. I've done it from high net worth individuals. I've done it from corporate entities, so strategics who've wanted to put money into different startups. And I'm here to answer any of your questions that I can. Good to see you. I think that's on LinkedIn at the minute. So hey on LinkedIn. Good to see you. Nice to see you today. And you put some questions in the chat. That would be really good. I think YouTube's lagging at the minute. I think everybody else seems to be coming online. I think YouTube is a little bit slower than the others. That's okay, no problem. It'd be good to see if somebody comes on from YouTube. Right, so I am going to talk a little bit today about some of the main topics of startups, some of the main problems that I see. And one of the key things that I see is that, I talked about this in a video earlier this week. Well, let me put that camera down a little bit. There we go. Oh, that's better. That's better. So I talked about this a little bit in the last couple of weeks, which was I had people who say, well, can you start your startup from anywhere? And the answer is yes, you can. The problem is, can you then raise money anywhere is a different question. So one of the things that I think you need to try and really understand as a startup. Oh, let me make this mic a little bit closer. How about that? Is that a bit better? Someone say you can't hear. Can hear me. You can hear me, but it's just a little bit quiet. Okay, there we go. That shouldn't be too quiet now. That should be just about right. So one of the questions is, can you put your startup anywhere? And the answer is yes, you can put it anywhere, but that doesn't mean you'll have a sustainable business or you'll be able to get investors on there. So hi Joe, good to see you, Joe. Nice to see you. I think that the reason that I say this, and I was talking about this on one of my videos the other day, is that your location often determines. There's two things that your location often creates problems for. One is for raising money. Unless you're at a place where people raise money, it's really hard sometimes to raise money. So what I would say is that if the investors are not where you are, they have to start thinking, do I want to invest in that place there, and how sure are they of it? So if it's a place that's like a main area, so let's say you're a deep tech startup and your company's in Silicon Valley, and that's where the VCs sit in Silicon Valley, then of course they feel more comfortable because there's heritage in Silicon Valley. Now I want to put it in a small place in Poland that's right out of the way somewhere. And they say, well, I've never heard of anyone there. And there's no history of people doing tech startups in that part of Poland. They're just going to wonder, is it viable? Is it possible? Why on earth would I stick money into a company that sits there? So that's one of the challenges, that your investors are going to look where you are. That doesn't mean you can be everywhere. So it's a dilemma, right? So can I start my business in one place and move it? Yes, you can. That is more often a little bit easier for a non-regulated product, where literally changing your address is probably just changing on your website or your packaging, maybe where it's going to be. If you're a regulated business such as biotech, pharma, medtech, aviation, there's lots of different regulated finance. Your financial regulation documents or your regulatory documents may all need to make sure that they've got your current address on, and a change of address mid-regulatory can actually be a little bit of a problem. So one of the things that you might want to think about a little bit is, do I have a lot of paperwork to do if I need to change my address in the future? So yes, you can start in your bedroom in the middle of nowhere, but once you start laying down serious documentation, or you're trying to get serious investors, then it's going to become a lot harder for that place to be sustainable. That's what I'm saying about that. The second part about it is talent. Is your talent, or the pool of talent that you're fishing in, you want software engineers, or you want, I don't know, you want regulatory people, or you want finance knowledgeable people, or you want biotech people. Unless you expect to move the entire triangle of knowledge to your location, you have to go and fish in their pool. They don't come fishing in your pool. So that's one of the other problems of being in. Hey, Tony, good to see you. Yes, I will get to that question in a minute. I will. So the other thing is, if you're going to, you need the talent pool around you, and especially if it's a super, deep tech talent, or you're trying to build something physical, is quite often one of the other things. Then you need to be where those people are, where the prototyping hubs are, where the tech people are that can actually help you with your product. It's okay to be away for a while, but at some point you need to be in the heart of it. So that's why I say location is often one of the really, really important things about where you put your business. And I was asked a question just there on that feed there. But what about grants? And I did cover this in the video. So one of the challenges you might have as well is that local governments are often trying to encourage you to start up and set up businesses in local areas. So they will give incentive grants, often non-dilutive. And what do I mean by that? You don't give stock away for it. So they literally just give you the money, you can use it, and quite often you don't even have to pay it back. So it's just like free money. So that's very tempting to take the free money. But you gotta look on there if there are strings that come with that. And what do I mean by that? Strings attached. So sometimes these government bodies will say, you can have that money and you don't have to pay it back, as long as, for example, you employ 2 people in the local area. So you're kind of constrained, because now you've got to employ them in that area. And there's often small print that says, they have to remain employed for X number of months, etc., etc. Or they say, you have to have an address in this area for the next 3 to 5 years, and therefore you don't have to pay the money back. So that's another thing that quite often ties you into these things. So I would always check the small print on that. Now, if you can get free money and they basically say, it's just free money, we'd love you to stay here, but you don't have to. Or they say, you've just got to found your business here and then you can move it later. Free money is free money, right? And nobody wants to give away, wants to give up free money. So I understand that as much as you want. The second problem with startups often is that they're often side gigs. And this is one of the things that I discourage a lot. You either do a startup properly as an operational team, or you don't. So one of the challenges that you'll have is that as an operational team, quite often the investors will want to see you all in a certain location. And what you say is, oh, but I live here and I have a job already doing something else, and this is kind of a side gig for me. Well, you've got to ask, is that a real job? Is it really something that people can invest into? Or, if you're looking for investment money, is it the right time then to ask for investment money if you're not 100% committed into the job? Can you do it on sort of pre-seed money from the FFF group, which is the Friends, Families and Fools group? So again, your location, it can be a little bit difficult because you want to live, near your parents' house or near your friends, or you've got a job, or you've got your partner who's got a job and you want to do the startup. So I get it. And I'm not saying it's a hard and fast black and white rule in this. There's shades of grey always in between. But I think what you've got to do is you've got to decide at the point that you want to become, totally professional on this, at which point do you then decide exactly where your business is going to be? Oh, my hat's all over the place today. So I hope that answered the question about if you get grants and stuff. Always look at the small print that comes with the grants, because you don't want to get stuck somewhere. Or if you then decide that, some professional investors say, well, you need to move it here, you don't want to have to give back 300,000 of your hard-earned investor cash and then give it back. So yeah, that's it. Who do you need in a team to start the startup? Yeah, that's a $1 million question. There's also a question that you generally need somebody who's going to run the business, and you need somebody who's going to make the product or service. So you need somebody who's kind of business savvy and somebody who is either the tech savvy or really understands at the operational level what they've got to build. Because you quite often build something, be it a service, be a physical product, be an app, be a software solution, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. But you generally need someone who understands business, because there's going to be a whole piece of putting the business together, raising the money, finding the offices, doing some of the IP and stuff. And quite often then you also need a technical person who is actually going to be able to build the product or build whatever it is, either directly or through a team or through consultants. But you at least need those two people in there. There are some sole starter companies where there's a single person who is the business brains and the technical brains behind it, and they can get the company going like that. The answer is you got to see how far can you get with those people, and then when do you really need the resourcing and the knowledge and the people to be able to do it. So it's kind of like you need to fit the shoe to the foot in a way. It's what you really need. And I know it's a bit of a wishy-washy answer, but what I would say is, as few people as needed as possible, and as many of those should be doing this either for equity, sweat equity, or getting it going. What you don't want to do is raise 100,000 and then put all that out in monthly salary straight away. Can't always do that. Sometimes you've got to find somebody who will help you to do the business, but they want some kind of payment. But try and slow that down as much as possible. The sort of people that you don't need, I think that's probably, just looking at this question, I think the thing that people don't need, you don't really need a finance officer to start with. I think there's lots of ways to get good financial advice, either from an accounting firm or from somebody who does finance who will just help you out on the books, because your finance is not the big thing initially, but you'll need some help when you're doing it. Again, I come back to location. Where are you going to found your company? Well, I think that some people will found the company in a poor tax location, and some people will found a company only for the tax location. And remember, most of those tax benefits only actually happen when you become profitable. So don't get over fixated on the taxation stuff early on in the startup's life. That's one thing I will say. So, I often see people found it as a Delaware company because Delaware has great tax. Yes, move it there a bit later as you're getting towards commercialization and revenues, and more so as you're getting there towards profits. Because again, on profits, you got to be thrown off profit sometimes to get the tax back, the R&D credits and all that kind of stuff. Again, a financial person will help you to guide that. You know, there are certain places where you'll get better financial benefits, and a good finance person who's within your sector, and definitely that's the other thing, make sure they're in your sector, can help you to do that. So that's, yeah, you don't need a finance person. You don't need a full-time commercial person early on, but you do need commercial advice. You know, most businesses end up having to sell something, and you need somebody who can tell you the real world thing about selling. So you're going to have, I don't know, a new drug, okay? Obviously, you want somebody who tells you what the reimbursement is going to be, how much is paid for it, where it's sold, how it's commercialized, how does it go through A, B, and C to get to market, what does the marketing have to... You know, you'll need some commercial advice early on, but you probably don't need a full-time commercial person early on. So try and avoid taking on permanent hires or lots of people. And if people are willing to throw their time in for some sweat equity, give them some equity. You know, make it as an options if you can, rather than give equity direct, but give them options. Yeah, that will also help a little bit to do that. Now I've got only 14 minutes left because I'm only doing a 30-minute intro today. There was another question that came up on one of the chats. One of the chats said, let me scroll up there. Let me scroll up there. Oh, yes. So in one of my videos, I talked about having a good idea and a big idea. You know, the piece of advice that I give every startup is that ideas are easy. Unique ideas are a bit harder, but ideas are generally easy. Ideas that can become a good business are a lot harder. And ultimately, ideas that can become a unique business are very hard. And the hardest of all is unique ideas that can become a business, and a good business, and a profitable business. And it's a lot that I talk about, which is ultimately you have to be able to show a path to profit, and you have to be able to show why your idea becomes profitable by year X. And the reason for that is quite simple. You know, just because you can build it doesn't mean you should build it. And I see way too many ideas where they're just technology based. You know, we found an algorithm, so therefore we're going to make an app for it. Is there a need for it? Is your algorithm doing something that nobody does today? Are people willing and able to buy it? And whenever they are willing and able to buy it, at what price will they buy it? And at what volumes will they buy it? Have you got 2 customers in the world that buy it at $20 each? I got balloons. I don't even know how I got balloons on that. I think there's something in my Mac setup that always does that. Oh, quite interesting. So again, just because you've got 2 customers in the world that can buy it, that then doesn't mean it's a business. I mean, you know, if it's going to cost you 2 million to bring it to market, and the most number of customers you have in the world can bring you in a revenue of 2 million, well, with the profit in that, you've already lost, right? Because you've got to be able to bring in profit of 2 million to get a break even. So there's just lots of things that you've got to think about when you get the idea. And it's also got to be, can you protect the idea? Now, there's different ways to protect it, and I'm not going to go into it today. I'll go into one if you join the lives. Make sure you follow me, subscribe, follow me, put the notification bell on, and when I go live, it will notify you. But one of the things that you've got to be able to do is protect your idea. And there's different ways to protect it. And we'll talk about IP, which is intellectual property. Sometimes it's patents, sometimes it's method patents, sometimes it's just know-how or algorithms, sometimes it's secret source, sometimes your IP is your brand or who you become depending on the type of product it is. Often with some of the consumer products, you know, lots of people could do an Uber, but Uber got in first, so you all hail an Uber, right? You don't hail a Lyft so much. You know, some people do, but Uber is the one who got first, so they got a huge amount of mind share. There's different ways that you can protect yourself and your brand and your ideas. But yeah, intellectual property is it's a very interesting one that I'm going to do a whole live on. And I've lost my thread now of where I was on the question. But one thing that definitely comes up on intellectual property is, yes, it was the idea. That's right. So if you're having a good idea, you've got to be able to protect it somehow, either through secrecy or through first mover advantage or through patents or through secret know-how or through some kind of, if it's a recipe for something, you've got a kick-ass hot sauce that's just going to be the best startup ever, and it's going to be amazing because it's got something new and you've got some kind of ingredient in there. That's the Coca-Cola style or the KFC style, which is you keep that super secret and that becomes your edge. So there's different things that you need to do, but can you find the idea that's protected? Now, some startups are built on just completely Me Too products. It's just about building a mousetrap at a slightly lower cost. I tend not to advise on those kind of businesses just because they're really just generics. They're what we would call the generics of the world of startups. And yeah, good businesses, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm not going to dig deep into generics and how you do generic businesses, because I think that a lot of the know-how and that has already been done. Find out who's the best in class, follow exactly what they did, follow their gameplay, sell it for $10 cheaper, and there's no reason you shouldn't have a good business, as long as your product is of the same quality. So this is the old Temu effect. So there's lots of products out there that are Me Too copies of it. I'll give you an example in the world of audio. So, my wife works in the world of music, and there are some classic compressors and audio boxes that you can buy, and you can go onto a Temu or equivalent or Alibaba, and you can find companies that make a knockoff version of that. And if you look at the reviews, quite often it'll say, yeah, it was cheap, but didn't have anything like the quality, didn't have anything like the sound reproduction, and they get a bad rap. So again, you can do these generic products or Me Too copies and stuff, but the one piece of advice that I will give to any startup doing that, make sure it works as well. No point in just being cheaper if it doesn't work as well. Now, you might have less features on it, like you may have 4 less buttons on it or whatever, but as long as the primary function of the product is absolutely working as it should be, then yeah, go for it. Really go for it. That would be, yeah, I think that would be a good thing to do. I'm not going to talk about it on here as a startup channel. I'm going to talk more about differentiated product, things that have got what we call a USP or a unique selling proposition. I want to try and get people who can really try and try and do something different and have a real sort of startup that makes a difference. And the reason that I say that is that if you're a Temu style product, it's hard to get investors unless you're, maybe the Chinese government or something like that. But yeah, it's very hard to get investors on there. So yeah, that's it really. I'm going to sort of leave it there for now. I've done 25 minutes. It was my first live on here. So YouTube, not many viewers coming through on YouTube, which is quite interesting. More on the LinkedIn and the Facebooks and the Instagrams. Got a lot more people there. So yeah, follow me on those channels. And I am going to switch over to Ticky Tick 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 Tick. So I'm going to go do some work on there. So you can follow me on that channel as well. The main following areas that you can get me is on LinkedIn. You can get me on TikTok, and you can get me on YouTube as the main channels where I'm posting most of my stuff. And again, follow my channel. Put some comments, look at the videos, put some comments, and then on the next lives, make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell button. The bell button is important because when I go live, what it's going to do is it's going to push out my feed to you. So that's it for now. I will end the stream there, and yeah, thanks everyone for coming, and I will see you on the next live, and I hope to help you with your startup.